r/datingoverthirty. Complex system of bus says. To mention my vasectomy or to not mention my vasectomy. I'm child free. 100% do not want kids. I'm very upfront with that on my dating profiles and won't even casually date those who want kids. Open to dating those who are undecided, so I've had a vasectomy to make sure, and I figured that would be a positive thing to mention on my profile. I got a comment from a woman on the Daily Stick thread that her and friend have had negative experiences with people who've mentioned it up front, saying that they use it to help convince them to have unprotected sex. Never even crossed my mind that it could be taken that way. I figured it would be a positive because it shows I'm willing to make sacrifices to be sure, and I know sterilization is much more difficult for women. I want to ask here because if I ask on the CF subreddits, I'll just get a bunch of attaboys and general negative comments about people who want kids. Too long, didn't read. What is your opinion on men who mention their vasectomy on their profile? What is your immediate reaction and gut feeling on reading that? Main analysis says. I would just say don't want kids, or whatever the verbiage is on the app you use. If the relationship starts getting serious, bring up the vasectomy. Admirable at 7666 says. Yeah. I think it'd be as weird as I use an IUD. No kids is what matters when choosing who to date. Methods are a later topic. Spiritual pound 6848 says. Also a man, 30, CF who's had a vasectomy. I don't mention it because of the reasons you've mentioned above. Some other men use it to try and get unprotected sex. I just put on my profiles don't have/want kids, and then if it gets to the point where we might go to the bedroom I'll mention it then, but still would be willing to wear condoms. I do mention it early though, as those people who are looking to want kids don't wanna have their time wasted, and I don't wanna waste my time with someone who wants kids. No shade to our new parents, it's just not for me. Solstice Sky says. My immediate reaction is always positive. It's an instant swipe right most of the time. It's very attractive to see someone who takes their reproductive health into their own hands. In my own experience, most guys I chat with who have vasectomies seem to be responsible, know what they want out of life, and confident with their decisions. I'm getting off topic, but can I just say the amount of guys on dating apps that expect women to be on birth control for their convenience and pleasure is disturbingly high. Complex system of bus says. I'm getting off topic, but can I just say the amount of guys on dating apps that expect women to be on birth control for their convenience and pleasure is disturbingly high. Yeah, this is how I'd figured it come across as positive. Like, I'm willing to date women who are unsure, but it does make me uneasy, so I'd much prefer someone who knows they don't want kids. And I figure it's positive to show them hey I'm serious about this, and have done what I can to assure there are no kids, but your opinion seems to be the minority so IDK. Not Homeware 2605 says. I'm 35 female, child free and have found it impossible so far to find a truly child free man in my area. Lots of not sure yets or just leaving it blank, and then I waste a lot of time getting to know someone before finding out they're a fence sitter or looking to have kids in a couple of years. I already went through a huge heartbreak in my 20s when he wanted kids and I didn't, and I really don't want to go through that again. So in my opinion, I would love to see that on a profile up front. Let's is 86 says. Given that I'm 38 female, I no longer like men who don't mention anything. The ones I've dated had kids, or wanted kids or both. I don't want kids. I don't want to date people with kids. One unfortunate guy just told me he had a son, less than 2 years old, after we were dating for a while. He said that he didn't want to bring it up because I wouldn't date him. MLO9109 says. On the flip side, I want kids and also get the not sures. I'd appreciate it if a guy was honest from the get-go and said he didn't want kids and took steps to make sure it never happens. Vasectomy. Regardless of what a woman wants, you're not wasting her time by mentioning it to begin with. Just a Beat says, I have no experience with this, but I would not put it on my profile. I would bring it up immediately though, if/when conversation first comes up about potential for kids. Leak says, I'd agree, in the profile, it does raise concerns of dishonesty or pressures for unprotected sex. Might not feel fair, but it doesn't take many experiences of that to make a woman reasonably cautious. This is a disclosure I'd make very early on, especially with undecideds, but I'd want to do it face to face, so you can have more complete communication about it. Tone, context, vibes. All that important stuff. r/datingoverthirty. SCH0 says, what do men think about women who make it clear they enjoy sex and have a high sex drive? I've always been honest about this, as I don't see why I shouldn't be, but I feel it is sometimes received negatively. I have also sometimes expressed this as a way to tell myself it is only casual when I know this is what they are after. It helps me to compartmentalize. Glassfern says, find yourself a guy who matches your libido and finds you interesting and exciting. If they are scared off, they are a bad match. Simple as that. Horace2 says, if we were seeing each other, I'd think it's good cause. If your drive is lower, that's way worse. Let's Meet Again says, my partners have all been very positive when I explain that's me. Currently I'm with the only person I've been with who initiates as much as me, and it's bliss. From my experience, I think it depends how you explain it, since I've had quite a few relationships in my adult life, going from 5 months the shortest to 5 years the longest. The people I date who I tell assume I've done it mainly within the context of relationships, so they are totally fine with it. If they ask further, I never lie and say I've also done loads of other stuff and way more casual sex than the average woman, especially when I was younger. Then some can get extremely insecure, but only if they are insecure in themselves in general. Anonymous Rebel says, green flag. According at 1997 says, it's going to depend on what the man is looking for. Hook up casual. Yes baby, as long as you don't have STDs, marriage/serious relationship. It's going to be a pass because there's usually, not always, a set of experiences that come with a high sex drive that essentially make it difficult for a lot of these people to have a healthy marriage. I would not share this with a man if you are dating to be serious. I would say to him, sex is an important bonding experience for me in my relationship, and it's important I have it once or twice daily. P.S. You that's reading this. You that's going to downvote this. You that feels rejected by my comments. Reality is reality. Plenty of studies have been done on this. /carrot. Popular Counter 6175 says, out of my 5 former GFS, 3 of them straight up told me they had a high sex drive, etc. early on in dating. As for what I thought/think it was something like equals good stuff, it sounds like we are going to have a good time. For me, the main appeal of a relationship is the idea of a steady/consistent sexual partner. The rest of the dating stuff I find kinda boring more often than not. Various at 4726 says, really on a case-by-case basis. So you should put me in touch with these women so I can get to know them and really gauge their character. Mike Kont says, honestly it's kind of what I'm looking for in life. Acrobatic level 1850 says, I'm similar, but have evolved my dating practices so that I do not have repeat encounters with men who cannot offer me a caring and consistent attachment, whether casual or entangled, friendly or romantic. If a man who I've been intimate with starts to react to me in a way that suggests that he's only or primarily interested in getting sex from me, I will end the connection. War by Othamine says, it's all about timing. If she makes it clear on or before the first date, I would find it odd and off-putting unless it's purely casual. 9Breaker009 says, the general consensus amongst the women I've been with all lead to me not being good enough. No matter how much I push myself for being in a mentally, physically and financially better place, I'm just still not good enough. I don't see the point in trying anymore if they are all saying the same thing. I just don't really know what to do. So for the moment, I'm just gonna wallow and do what makes me happy. Pass the tinfoil says, are you me? r/datingoverthirty. Nefarious 657 says, ladies, dating younger. I have always dated my age or older, but there is a 26-year-old, I'm turning 36 soon, is pursuing me hard. I mentioned our age different, and he says it's not a huge difference. I will say I'm a bit confused, only because we have had friendly hellos for the past 2 years, and a month ago, when we were in a place where we could talk longer, he let it be known he has been interested. He respects my boundaries, he is not pushy, and he has been a gentleman. He does have a job, and he is a single father, childless. It's all the actions I have wanted from a prospect in the beginning stages, especially since I have a slow to warm temperament, and I find many in our age group want to move quickly, but the 10-year gap leaves me hesitant. My brain is genuinely at a standstill, since I never even had a thought that dating younger was an option. So I'm wondering, for the women who have dated younger, what was your experience? Been Reddit says, he's just trying to smash and take advantage of you being flattered. Proceed at your own risk. Star to be says, why bother wasting time on what's most likely Mr. Wrong? You're just taking away from your time searching for Mr. Right. Unless you're not looking for the one, then if you're attracted, I guess why not? I wouldn't, personally though. Soulglow 303 says, I would say this is a bucket list thing for him. Tina Green P says, to the young man, it's not a big difference. He can't see into his future to know what 10 more years will do to him. You, as the older party, see it more clearly, because you know where you were 10 years ago, and how much has changed since then. If he's 26 now, and thinks 10 years isn't a big difference, is he also saying he's changed very little since being a 16-year-old? Either it's true and Yaku wants to date someone with a teenager's mindset, or it's not true, and we have to acknowledge that 10 years at this phase of life is in fact significant. I'm sure there are good examples of age gap relationships. But as a near 40 woman with natural grey hair and stretch marks, my experiences with younger guys pursuing me has been simply that they have transitioned from fetishizing women that fall into the barely legal and college code porn categories and graduated to MILF and lonely single mom porn categories. They've been looking for someone who doesn't care about strings, who doesn't have time for drama, who insists on paying for herself because she can, and has her own place for meetups. They love single moms too. We have good snacks and custody schedules. They can easily make sure all their girlfriends don't/can't cross paths. I've also heard it said that guys that age go older or younger by these big gaps when they are striking out a lot with women closer to their own age, for whatever reason. All that to say, proceed with. RCHL 239 says, I'm 33 and wouldn't date anyone in their 20s personally. In my experience, men don't become emotionally adult until their 30s/early 40s, if they ever do. But I'm sure there are exceptions. I dated some late 30s guys when I was mid 20s and didn't find it to be a huge difference. Occasionally they'd try to parent me, but I was adult enough to know what I was doing. I'm in favor of leveling out the double standard men have about dating younger women. I dated someone 5 years younger when I was in my late 20s, and that was a horrible traumatic experience, so I may be biased that way also. Radio Dude 1995 says, just going to give you some input from a guy's perspective. I'm a 29-year-old guy, and I can't imagine myself dating anyone 10 years older than me. I just don't feel like we would have anything in common, and that relationship wouldn't really work. Now, with that being said, there's maturity that comes from being a single parent obviously. I'm the case of the person you're interested in. He may be a lot more mature for his age, since he does have a lived experience that a lot of people this age don't have. Concentratiarch7517 says, 34F here, and I've dipped back into the 20s before. Sex won't be very good, you have to do coaching, and be patient there. From what I've seen with Gen's guys, they are very into online personas. What's trendy? Sex/porn over realistic connection and intimacy. Like most people in their 20s, they are still figuring out who they are and where they stand in the world. I wouldn't go back to a guy in his 20s, because even for sex it's not that great. They don't have the longevity and experience. r/datingoverthirty. Redwinner Cranberry 88 says, struggling here a bit. Did I do something that wrong that caused him to suddenly change his behavior immediately? This happened to me last month, but I'm still struggling a bit to overcome what happened. Would really appreciate your perspectives. I, 31 female, have been dating this guy, 36 meters, met in Hinge, for about over 2 months. We met 6 times and did lot of diff activities together. He was consistent during the whole time, regularly texting, initiating, making plans, buying flowers, booking dates/dinner, etc. Timeline. 1. Week of 18th December 2023, so my family lives abroad, so I visited them for 2 full weeks. During then my date and I were constantly messaging each other too. Week of 8th January 2024, once I was back we decided to meet on Friday night. But he said his plan changed and he had to go see his family, so we decided to meet on Sunday. On Sunday he messaged me saying his friend broke up etc, so he thinks he needs to be with him, asked if we can meet on Monday instead. I told him I can't see him on Monday in that week because I have to study, important for my career, and then I have friends coming to visit me during weekend. So eventually we met on 14th January 2024 Sunday. 3. 14th January 2024, we met, finally, and had dinner. He went to my place. I told him I can't see him for full 1 week again. I think he wanted to have sex. I wanted to as well, but I was on my period, so we hang out for a bit, and then he left for week of 15th January 2024. He didn't message me at all since then. For full 1 week. So of course I messaged him saying I miss you. etc, checking in point Ann. He goes, why don't you take me out for dinner on Sunday? I had friends on Sunday, so I said I couldn't. 5. Week of 22nd January 2024, I messaged him on Monday. He suddenly changed. No planning, initiating dates etc, so I planned everything and took him out for dinner, and then we slept together. This was a red flag, but I thought maybe he was upset that I couldn't see him for a week. After we met and had dinner, I think he wanted to sleep over at my place, so we slept together, and then he mentions his deal breaker, which I knew about, but didn't expect him to bring it up, and says we should reconsider about if we want to move FWD to this relationship because he thinks he and I are not on the same page with this deal breaker issue. And then usually previously he will sleep over with me at my place, but he just left. He said see you soon. Ever since then, other than thanks for the dinner message, I heard nothing back from him. Did that 1 week where I couldn't see him change him this much to reconsider the whole thing we had over last 3 months? Or has it been his plan all along to just sleep with me, and if I become inconvenient then just suddenly change and cut me off? Is this what 2024 dating life is like? Honestly, I have to sometimes stop what I'm doing and think about this issue because it really hurt me and also makes me want To not trust men/dating again. Appreciate your views. And Constanbison 8675 says, sadly, these things happen. I don't think the 1 week really changed anything at all. It's very likely that he got caught up in the rush of falling in love and went all out, only to later step back. The only thing that really happened in that 1 week was him taking the time to think about whether he really saw you as a long-term partner, to which the answer was no. I would wager it has just a little bit, but not much, to do with his deal breaker. Unfortunately, the deal breaker is a convenient way of bringing it up in the conversation. In summary, he changed his mind, as confusing as it seems. I do feel for you, because dating really shouldn't be this complicated. Dragondance says, are you looking for a serious relationship? Are you serious about dating and finding someone? To be blunt, you clearly aren't making time in your life for dating or prioritizing it at all. When someone is interested in you, and you constantly have excuses for why you can't meet for weeks, but have time to see friends and do other things in your life, it looks like you're not serious about dating, you're not that interested in this person, and you're not really in a space where you're ready to take dating seriously or make time for it in your life. Is it any surprise that someone wouldn't want to stick around for that? It might not even be the case that he wasn't into you, but he was seeing all of your signs that you clearly weren't that into him or willing to ever prioritize seeing him, and he made the reasonable decision to peace out, to try to find someone who was ready to see him more or make time in their schedule for him. Berlin Flowers says, if you're really into someone and creating a relationship is important, you've got to prioritize them more. If your friends are in town for the weekend, go grab brunch with them and then meet up with him after. During the week, finish studying at 8 PM and then have him over to watch a movie or something. Even if you're busy, if you're really interested in someone, you find the time. Even if it's to just go grab a coffee or lunch. When I met my current boyfriend online, we lived 1.5 hours apart, both had busy jobs, and he has custody of his son 50% of the time. That man managed to come see me once a week, and always made a point to plan our next date when we parted. We made room for each other. We'd get work done while being together. That effort is what sealed the deal for me, and now we are living together and plan on marrying one another. Ultimately, if you wanted to, you would. He probably saw the lack of effort and the feelings faded. Mine wolf. That said, he shouldn't have slept with you before ghosting, and he should have voiced why his feelings change. That shows he's a bit immature, and maybe you subconsciously knew this all along. Chasselet says, it's a lot better than I had with a woman whom I dated who could go radio silent for days/weeks lol. But maybe he wants to be more important in your life. Could a weeknight dinner be too inconvenient for you during that break? Maybe he was hoping you provided alternative to meet after the friend gathering. Frankly, I'm fine with meeting once a week or rarely twice a week, but I had a female friend who met with her husband 3 to 4 times a week and they FaceTime every night, so it's a rim kind of thing. What do you mean you took out for dinner? Like you paid it, hence he said thanks for dinner. Kind of weird asking you to treat him for dinner, but it is what it is, I guess. Rora Zunster says, I'm sorry babe, he's just not that into you. You did nothing wrong. Leave him be and move on to the next. Roots Angelis says, low effort. He's just not into you. Find someone who is. Red Range GLO88 says, you were busy and your schedules didn't align, and maybe he felt you didn't have the ability to prioritize him. That worked for him, but frankly there's nothing you did wrong, and him bringing up a deal breaker after sleeping with you and not communicating any of this in 2 months is horrible behavior. Truth Several says, kinda crappy to sleep with you then tell you it's over and bring up the deal breaker. He lacks character. I think you are better off he should have said it before sleeping with you, because he sure as hell knew before the act. Umpshaw says, Others have said it, but that 2 to 3 month mark is usually where it either comes together or all falls apart. And my honest opinion is that if it does fall apart, it would fall apart no matter what. It doesn't matter what you did. If you had done this differently, maybe it lasts an extra month, but it would fall apart eventually. You made it know that you were into it and he didn't reciprocate. My guess is he's just emotionally unavailable. Just move on. r/datingoverthirty. One bag 4956 says, how did your date go? Can I ask if I did this right? I'm new, I guess, to this whole dating scene, as my previous relationships have been so straightforward, with the guy wanting to make me his GF within a couple months. I was seeing someone 30 male for 3 months, asked him where he saw things headed, and he said he was unsure, hadn't really thought about it. I said I didn't want someone unsure, so that it's best we stop seeing each other, to not waste each other's time. Then he reached out and said it takes him more than 3 months to decide to spend the rest of his life with someone. I said I was looking for a relationship, not a marriage. He then asked if we could be exclusive and plan for a relationship in the future. To which I agreed, which I probably shouldn't have, because I've been exclusive this whole time, lol. I didn't even know exclusive was a thing. Another month goes by and things are going fine. A small hiccup, but it was sorted. So I asked him where things are headed again. At this stage I honestly felt anxious being with someone and falling so hard when we aren't even together. He said he felt I was rushing things into something serious, and it's hard to date someone not of his culture, has known my culture since day one, that trust takes a long time to build, etc. We go back and forth for ages until I was finally like, I need to know what we are doing and where we are headed, because I'm falling and I don't want to be hurt if we aren't on the same page. This is when he finally said he wasn't on the same page and that it's best we stop seeing each other because he doesn't want to hurt me. Am I in the wrong for defining the relationship too quick? 4 months in my book is ages, and I believe you should know whether you want a relationship or not. The thing is also, with this guy, he acted like my BF, so consistent and good amount of effort. All I wanted was the security of knowing this is going somewhere, and he isn't wasting my time. It's been a couple months since we did message for a bit after, but haven't been in contact for the last month. He's also on old looking for SDR open to long, which made me, did I throw away something good by rushing things? Or was it valid? I'm 30 female, edit, we met in real life, and when we talked about what we are looking for, he said a relationship, if the right person comes along, or with the right person, something along those lines. CF Infinitine Swiss says, 4 months is reasonable to want a discussion of what you see going forward. Life is short. Don't waste it on people dragging you around. He gave you his answer. Go find someone ready for a relationship. Heelsbither Bridge says, he wasn't that into you. If you're genuinely interested in someone, you would jump on the chance to be in a relationship with them and keep them from meeting someone else. 4 months is a long time, and I'm convinced people know how they feel about you within weeks. No thanks, God says. While old, I definitely learned that regardless what people mention in their profile, that might not be how things go. If someone claims they have a tough time trusting people, that should not then be your job to try and help them through it. They should be working on it themselves. People who want to be with you will try their best to be with you, and that's what we deserve when we are also putting in the work. Sometimes things don't match up, or people just don't genuinely vibe with us, but that doesn't make us any lesser. It just means we are allowed to keep our boundaries safe and be open to someone who is better for us. Stay strong and stick to your convictions. I Let It Sheen says, no, you didn't throw away shit. His loss. Sugar and Pumpkin Spice says, it sounds like he was trying to date casually and not serious at all. I think after a couple months, you should know if you want to define the relationship or not and commitment. Otherwise you're just casually dating. 3 months is more than enough time, and I think he was waiting for something better to come along, but liked having you there. I would never wait 4 months for anyone anymore, being in my 30s. Lockerminima 773 says, in my opinion, men know fast. They should be able to answer where you see this heading pretty confidently at 3 months. And they should also know that you asking that question isn't you asking for a marriage proposal on the spot. You did a good job detecting his ambivalence and ending it early. Also, short open to long should be a left swipe for you. If you're looking for a serious long-term partner, you don't really want to burn time on the guys who aren't specifically focused on finding something long-term. Quantum Compass says, giving him the benefit of the doubt, it's possible that he hasn't properly dealt with baggage from a previous relationship. I dated someone who asked to make things official after 1 month. I agreed. She would bring up long-term plans for the future, things like where we live when we are older, family plans, etc. She dumped me 3 months later saying, "You're pushing for this relationship to move too quickly." Needless to say, that situation left me cautious when dealing with committing to any new relationship. That being said, the way he's going about things isn't good. He's going back and forth in committing and making excuses for why he can't commit, effectively leading you on. I can't tell you what to think, only you know that answer. What I can tell you is that you need to do whatever is right for yourself and your future. The only thing we can control is our own life. Organic Mountain 5423 says, he isn't ready, he's waiting to see if something better comes along. Keep your options open. Flemings 89 says, lots of red flags, but the one that's pretty black and white is him saying it's hard to date someone not of his culture. That's not gonna change, he'll sugarcoat it till you walk away. No Professor 6945 says, I'm male and to me 4 months is more than enough time to work that out. Of course we are not talking marriage at 4 months, but definitely whether it's something serious or not. Let's is 86 says, you are not wrong at all, and it seems he always knew you weren't at the same page. Good for you to have insisted and not waste more of your time. r/datingoverthirty. Pretty candidate says, if you're dating for marriage, how many dates do you need to realize they are not the one? I'm 32 female, dating to marry. Notice that if I go out with someone 3 times, it's because I see long term with them. I mostly give closure after first or second dates that I don't see us a romantic fit. Post date 3, it is usually my date's idea to end things. I try and wait for date 5 to 6 to sleep with someone. Let's exclude first dates, as those are the highest chance of no. After that, how many dates do you go on before breaking things off, if on your terms, with someone? Jiggabean says, it's hard to pinpoint when someone is the one. I think it's more is this person relationship material. It sucks to say this, but there's ultimately 3 choices people make after a first date. Friend zone, frick zone. In some cases, they translate into a relationship zone, which may lead to marriage, or may just be a short/long-term relationship. Making one of the above decisions? I think most people would agree that this decision would be made in the first 5 to 10 minutes. But deciding the one, that definitely would take way more time. Fritz Reddit says, I'm always so baffled by these posts, dating to marry and wait 5 to 6 dates to sleep with someone, when you absolutely didn't do that in your 20s. How are things gonna go better now? It's such a desperate move. My Refresh 9 says, 2 dates maximum. Intrepid Rip 2280 says, by switching between either AI sexting bot avatars I choose which I'd like to fap off to in several upcoming months. Armored with a Potato says, 2. Sandanson75 says. 3 months most shit falls out of the closet by then. I mean by 3 or 4 dates you kind of have an idea. But even then the ones that I think might be a fit, normally by the 3rd or 4th month either they are bailing or I am. Seldom me, but everybody that knows me tells me you might not be the one calling it quits, but you sure make it obvious that you're pushing them out the door. Itibita Invictus says. 1. Nayfast says. Typically 1 to 2 dates. Sometimes I know almost immediately after meeting in real life that I'm not into them. I was married and with my ex-husband for 10 years total. I knew on our first date that I could see a future with him. Subsequent dates confirmed that. With every guy I've dated after my marriage ended, I knew usually on the first date that I didn't see a future with them. For the couple guys who got a second date, I wasn't completely sure how I felt after the first date, but the second date confirmed I didn't see a future with them. I'd get to know them better on the second date, and usually see some red flags or incompatibilities. I need some amount of physical attraction, but I'm primarily looking for a personality fit and someone who wants a similar lifestyle and the same things out of life as I do, for example, to buy a house. They don't have to be the hottest guy out there, but they obviously need to take care of themselves. I could smell my last date's breath from like 3 feet away. So basically, even though you said to exclude first dates, I usually know it's a no after just 1 date. I would never sleep with someone as early as date 5 to 5 either. I need to know them really well and form a strong emotional bond and friendship first. Typically at least on the order of months. I'm beginning to think modern dating, which is so app focused these days, just isn't for me. Realimp Punk says. 1 in severe cases but usually 5. Pristine Way 6442 says. I understand the concept of dating to marry and agree with it, but it's impossible to determine after 3 times whether this person is a suitable life partner. For me the first 3 to 5 dates are a vetting period where I try to find out if I want to be in a committed relationship with them, aka BF/GF. Not saying you should have that DTR talk on the 5th date, but by that time, if I had gone out with someone more than 5 times, the exclusivity is there for me, otherwise why waste the time? Depending on frequency, I think anywhere between 1,5-2,5 months should be enough to be able to approach the DTR talk. And from then, anywhere between 1,5-3 years to see if they will be good husband/wife. Realistically you have to see how your potential partner is with his friends and family, how he behaves in crisis situations, how he is when you're both away from home traveling etc etc. You need physical time for that. Anonymous as a 1 shift says. This is an odd question, because it heavily depends on how the 2 people's personality mesh together. Not together is generally I found a dealer or they are a fine relationship partner, but don't meet my expectations. Both of these are generally discoverable, so unless you purposely should testing your date on literally everything it's going to be pretty random. Though with that said a psychologist proposed the dating dates breakdown. 1. The first 3 dates, 1-3, are for just getting to know the person on a personal level, no flirting, feelings, test, you just there to see if you could even be friends with the person. No feelings should be developing. 2. The next 3 dates, 4-6, are to get to know them on a flirtatious level. Again still getting to know them, but this time looking out for more relationship stuff, life goals and style etc stuff. You can start developing feelings here. 3. Last 3 dates, 7-9, are for reinforcing the feelings, thing a pseudo relationship. If you don't have any feelings by this point it's over. This is also the time where you should be looking to progress into a relationship. 4. There is number 10th date. Obviously not a hard rule, and if other dates were cut short etc then have a few more dates, but ultimately if no relationship is happening by this point it's probably not going to happen. r/datingoverthirty. An author writer 2176 says, is seeing each other 2 times a week at 8 months enough to build a relationship? I've searched for other posts like this, but most seem to address the initial stages of a relationship, 2 to 3 months. My BF 30 male and I 30 female have been dating for about 8 months. We have both expressed we are deeply in love and committed to our relationship. We normally only see each other 2 times a week, sometimes less, sometimes more. We both seem to be fine with that. But part of me wonders if this isn't enough to move toward a long-term relationship, moving in together, etc. Should I be pushing for more time together? One barrier to seeing each other more is I have a cat I need to take care of, but with my roommate situation, he can't sleep over. I know I'll get some comments on this aspect, but getting my own place isn't possible right now. Moreover, I have a really busy work and social life. We live very nearby, so that's not an issue. When we do spend time together, it's quality time. We aren't just hanging out in the same space, we are engaging and sharing experiences. Still, I feel subconscious that what we are doing just isn't enough compared to other relationships, even though we both seem to be happy. Anyone have similar experiences, good or bad, that they can share? Megach0Nata0N says 40 and 60 hours to move from an acquaintance to a casual friendship, from 80 to 100 hours to call someone a friend, and over 200 hours of togetherness before someone rated as a best friend. Greetestchow111 says, I personally don't think it is enough to progress to the next stage, and will pretty much be stagnant if you don't see each other as much. Have there been talks yet on your timelines? It would be great to start establishing your expectations with him so everyone is on the same page on making this long term. Honestly, seeing him twice a week, you won't know enough about each other. Of course, unless you plan to keep it this way, then by all means, but it won't grow the way you want. Discussion after 5324 says, so, a cat is standing in the way of a deeper relationship? Check. Doesn't the roommate ever leave for a few days or an overpass? Peace at Night says, I'm in a long distance relationship. We have met in person 3 times. In the last year and a half. We are very close and love each other very deeply. There is no yes or no answer here. Only what are you two doing to build a relationship? Are you both satisfied? Or does one or both of you need more? Boeba Gels says, whatever you do, don't just go from 2x a week to signing a lease. If you ever want that in the future, you need to spend more time with each other. Or a short-term lease. Try a month in an Airbnb. Seems like a lot of money, but less money and heartache than moving in and then out because your living style is incompatible. I'm just speaking from experience, don't be me. Boo Bailey 808 says, if it's working for you, then it's working. I only see my partner once a week, if we are lucky, because of how busy we both are. Didn't stop us from building a relationship. Oh, and I can't stay over at his place and we live on 2 different cities. Suangel says, my last relationship was like this. We lasted about 1.25 years. She wanted to become exclusive after our 8th date. I said yes. We saw each other 1 to 2 times a week for the first 6 to 7 months, which was almost exclusively on weekends. The primary reason was that work began for her at 10, but ended at 7:30, and began for me at 8, but ended at 5. So if wanted to spend more time with her during the week, I had to go to her place, and it was typically for only an hour or 2, counting the drive, since I'm in bed by 9:30. I learned quickly that I was not happy doing that, so that's why I say 1 to 2 times a week. What I came to learn as her lease came up was that she was perfectly happy with this arrangement. She loved having her own space. She loved having me come over, but she loved having 5 days independent of me. This became more evident when she tried to move in, with me. She requested I turn what was a shared office for us into a room for just her. It's a 2-bedroom, mind you. She genuinely believed that was fair, despite equal spaces across the apartment. I say all of this to say that I will never have this type of relationship again, and I won't advise others against it. The amount of time, energy, and money I poured into maintaining basic contact was not only not worth it, but it was not appreciated. I actually believe she sabotaged her move-in because she wanted to stay separate and keep that going as long as possible. Why not? She never has to do something potentially uncomfortable, and I get to keep footing the bill. I don't know all of the facts in your situation, but it is very easy for me to imagine what happened to me happening to a woman as well. Her liking him, wanting to see him more, and him knowing she is not the one, wanting to keep it casual, so keeps it. My MetroCard says, if it works for both of you, that's what matters. My BF and I see each other once every couple of months due to our often conflicting schedules. Some couples practically move in together immediately. r/datingoverthirty. Chronicus says, could you give me tricks to let go? Hey guys. I 31 female, will try and keep it short. We dated for 8 months. He 26 male, made me want kids for my first time. Would put his head on my belly and all. He has a beautiful house on land and we couldn't wait to start projects with children and pigs. We worked together. I'm in school and met him last summer, then dated until I started working there again. Internship, he'd get angry bursts. His mood was ever so unpredictable. He would yell and bring me down. One fight he realized, or maybe not, how bad he was and started therapy with better help. But the following week it got so bad. That night I left. 1.5 months ago. It was too much. He intimidated me. Hovered while I packed my stuff and didn't stop after I told him he was scaring me. We spoke the next day and I suggested to keep going lightly while he take therapy seriously, and he said no. A week ago I suggested we meet to become friends at work. He freaked out and said all the times he was sorry he didn't mean it and I was horrible and all that. It was bad. People speak of him at work and I feel they look at me with pity. I hate it. I hate all of it. Why am I not over him when I know he's so bad? Puzzle Related Value 38 says, I would take the focus off him for a bit. Focus on you. What is making you attracted to someone who hurt you like this? What qualities were you attracted to that you could also find in a healthy partner? What may have happened in your past that would bring you to be hooked on a toxic dynamic? Would you consider therapy to explore this? Artemis says, imagine him escalating, because this is only after 8 months and it's abusive. He sounds like he's splitting. Admirable Part 1506 says, you can't work that job. You have to avoid seeing, hearing him, going near his energy. Get rid of objects that remind you of the relationship. Love is like a drug, your body is going to scream once the source of love is gone. I just got out of relationship that was rocky, in your age, and I gravitate towards toxic women my whole life. Stay strong, time heals everything. Make space for someone even better. Jake says, you might be attached to the possibility of having what you desire and not the person/situation itself. If that's the case, identify that. How you are ready to give yourself to someone that truly deserves you and wants the same and cares for you. Treasure that potential you have. It's with you, not with him. Gabayesk says, print out all his negative traits and stick it on your fridge. Every time you think fondly of him, do a walk to the fridge. Lesbianical says, the best advice I can give to get over someone is to try to recognize that the person you think you're in love with is different than who that person really is. Think of this from the perspective of a nice guy who imagines being in a relationship and being intimate with their crush. The issue is, when they imagine their crush having the same feelings about them, when in reality, that person has already rejected their advances multiple times. Instead of realizing that the person in their head who loves them only exists in their head, they start trying to manipulate that person into becoming the person in their head. If you'd only give me a chance, I know you changed your mind, or I know I could make you happy. The nice guy can't separate the fantasy from reality and tries anything they can to make reality match their fantasy. The reality is that, even if the crush gives in and gives him a shot, it's still never like what the nice guy wanted it to be. They spent so much time building this person up in their head and the real person simply doesn't match up. The thing is, this same logic applies to toxic and abusive relationships as well, but it's much harder to do once a relationship has been established. The best way to tell if you're stuck thinking about the daydream instead of the actual person is to finish the sentence, if only they would. Once you've come up with as many things as you can to fill in that blank, look at each one and think, if this answer never changes for the rest of their life, would I be okay with that, and should I be okay with that? Note, the question isn't about if you'd enjoy it, it's a given that you don't. The question is about if you're okay compromising over that issue permanently. If the answer to those last two questions is no at any point, there's a good chance you're in love with a fantasy. I hope that helps. This stuff is not. Advanced Goat 4407 says, seems like this relationship was a status thing that you used to lord over other people and now it's gone. And you feel embarrassed. D41109 says, we are forgetful creatures. If you spend enough time not being in a relationship, eventually, you will forget about it. Our forgetfulness is a blessing sometimes. You will think about it every day for a while. But someday you'll realize you didn't think about it at all. Those days will start to become the norm. You'll still think about it from time to time. But it will become more abstract and crystallized. You'll have grown from the person you were with that relationship. You'll start to look at yourself with older eyes. Eyes that can more easily access compassion for your now younger self. And your past shortcomings. But you have to let the process run its course. There are no tricks. There is only awareness that you are going through something. It's a process you can be aware of or resist, either way you're going through it. So if you can, have compassion for yourself. Put your hand on your heart, tell yourself, or, dear heart, this is hard. But I'm here, and I love you. This pain is a teacher. Learn and grow towards a better you. You deserve to benefit from this situation. r/datingoverthirty. Alpha Phonesis says, set up 3 dates and bailed all 3 times. Yes, I should not give him any more chances, but what is the reason behind this behavior? Please help me understand. I met him 30 male, online, and after a couple days chatting on the apps he asked for my number, and we had a video call. Great connection and funny, caring. Would text or call me every day consistently. Set up a date to take place a few days later, then did not follow through with details in the following days, and bailed last minute. Apologized profusely and scheduled a new date. He continued to stay in touch before the date, and confirmed details the morning of the date. An hour before the date he texted to cancel, saying he is too tired from the day of work, and that he really wants to go home and sleep. Apologized and begged that I give him another chance, because he really likes me. Come again, he set up a new date where he picked the place and time, followed up the day before, and said he'll be seeing me. The morning of the date, said his client had some issues with the work he completed the day before, and said he needs to go back to that client and fix the issues, and asked to postpone the date by a few hours. Come the new time for the date, said he is still troubleshooting, and will let me know when he is done. 3 hours past date time he called to apologize, and ask me to send location of a bar near me, so he can honor his promise to see me. After sending location, he said it is too far and that he has an early shift the next day, so he decided not to come see me anymore. Apologized again. I told him I'm done with this. I'm still puzzled at this behavior and why this happened. Such a waste of time. Any insight? Deleted says. Probably anxiety. I've done that before. I do really want to date and meet new people, and then my anxious brain takes over. Jeremy Jermorak 8108 says. If he got you to agree to meet him after bailing twice, that tells me he's either very good looking, or very charming, or more likely both. That tells me in turn that a lot of other women are also interested in him, and he's most likely playing around with as many of them as he possibly can at any given moment. M's opinion 8D says. Married. Maine Coon 0 says. I don't know why he behaved the way he did. I don't think we can really tell that. However, what stood out to me, on top of bailing on you repeatedly, is that, so he can honor his promise to you basically means, so he can honor his promise to you, if it is convenient enough. If you're dating and looking any sort of commitment from the other person, this is not the type of person who keeps their in sickness and in health kinda promises. Glad he showed you who he is early on. It's me Gain 023 says. You're likely providing him all the mental/emotional connection he needs via text and phone calls. There is no reason to see you and get to know you in person when you're talking consistently all the time. Mora Connection 9391 says. I wouldn't even stress yourself with why he is doing this. If a guy is interested in you, they will want to see you as much as they can. I wouldn't entertain his behavior any longer. I mean, you don't really know people like that online. They only show you what they want you to see. I find it very suspect that he keeps cancelling. You never know, he could have a GF or even married for all you know. You know your worth, and you deserve better than this immature behavior. Anonigmal Ways says. He is loser material. Just has no respect for you or your time and would probably expect the world from you and give nothing back. JMLJBWC says. Ever watch Catfish? Jeds4242 says. As a guy, I wonder why women waste my time too. My best advice is not to waste any more time thinking about it. If he texts you, just say, 3 strikes you're out, chump. Fist bump to you, it sucks but he's just a flake. Onward and upward. Mimicoctopi says. I'm sorry that I didn't finish reading past the title. Why does it matter? Move on. Knowing why isn't going to change anything. I wouldn't have given a third chance. The first one is the benefit of the doubt. Second one, done. They need to have a really good reason for bailing a second time. Give your time to somebody who actually wants it. A Lord no says. If someone cancels politely and on time, no problem. Don't want to go through, okay. If you cancel within 24 hours of the date, that's pretty lame, and I might send you a small note that this was a bit uncool, depending on circumstances. Doing a no-show, like he did, is just ashlery. Reason why this happened. He's all over the place mentally, way more invested in work than dating. It's not worth fretting too much over. Rooftop World says. You know, I should say to give a person one extra chance and that's it. But then, I'd be a hypocrite, because my now girlfriend and I cancelled our first date 5 times before actually having it, with sometimes it being me, and sometimes it being her. I was ready to say, you know what, this clearly isn't meant to be, so we should stop trying, but I decided to keep trying for shits and giggles. And here we are. So, I don't know WTF is going on anymore. Edit, granted, only one of the cancellations was at the last minute. r/datingoverthirty. #Nashana says. Do you look for anxiety, and how closely? A bit more of a question for men, but just because women tend to wear more jewelry. Welcome input from anyone. When you're out and about IRL and see someone you might fancy, do you check for a ring before approaching? And if so, do you do a quick scan or really look? I'm a ref looking for M, and I normally wear 2 fairly large silver rings, one on my left hand, middle finger, and one on my right hand, ring finger. I'm just wondering if at a casual glance, it might seem ambiguous or look like I'm wearing a wedding band. Given the horror show that told is for many of us, I've been trying to get out there in real life and go to events where I might meet someone, and just wondering if my ring choices might turn someone off saying hi. Thanks for any thoughts. Lindsay No Lady 3 says, 41F here, I wear a ring on my left hand ring finger so men won't talk to me. So far it hasn't really worked. I don't often get hit on though. Gurmiaf Porcelain Throne says, yes, how else can you tell how old they are? Jeremy Jermorak 8108 says, 39 meters. I don't look for rings, but I don't cold approach, so I don't see how it matters. I might take a shot at an acquaintance, but never someone I don't know well enough to already know if she's single or not. Fat Lucky Fox says, in my work environment there's no jewelry below the elbow, so I've got used to not factoring this in. I'd say it depends on the individual, because prior to this career, a decade ago, I would have looked. Could be different for men. However, a while ago I bought myself a beautiful ring and wore it on my ring finger to basically guard myself from any interest. If any guy was interested, after seeing that he certainly isn't for me, beat of luck. Dermomo says, yes, I do. Ridsaxvt says, I've never worn rings, but as someone with 4 fingers I'm curious what women would guess if I did. Then I'd be real with myself that no one has ever looked at me and then thought to check. I'd wager a paycheck if there was a way to verify the result. Either way I'd win. Money or self-esteem. Chouse Marriage says, of course I do. Ring on either ring finger is a no. It only takes a glance. Rome Planet says, I usually do, and have missed multiple opportunities over the years, because the ring was on the right ring finger, rather than the left, and I could have sworn it was the other way around. They could have been honest mistakes, but it's more likely that my mind created an excuse not to approach. Ditch the ring on the right ring finger. Keep the one on the left middle, as that's harder to confuse. Power Ed Bibager says, sorta check for the ring after starting the convo. Then if see one I politely come to the end of the interaction and leave. Inalitant says, I don't, but I have been approached a couple of times about this very same issue. One for a potential match IRL which didn't materialize into even a phone call, and the other as to why I wear 5 rings on both hands. That was an interesting conversation. Ice This Nakornik says, here, I do. Big Blaze Angeral says, yes, or the shadow of one. Jmodiddles says, yes, I usually take a look for a ring if I have potential interest in a woman. Indication or 7589 says, F here too. When I was single I would also take notice of a wedding ring if I happened to be interested. And then obviously backed off if there was one. Expensive Web 8534 says, I do glance at left hand fingers. Ring finger equals taken. Middle finger, which can be confused with ring finger, equals not available. If someone was eager to invite an amorous interest, they would likely attempt to minimize any chance they could be perceived to be taken, so they wouldn't wear a finger on / near the ring finger. Motto 56 says, I look for a wedding ring. Saves on time and embarrassment. Majestic Walrus 520 says, yes. Snacky with no name says, I'm a dumb shit and don't know what hand wedding rings go on. I may not approach you at all tbh. I wouldn't approach you anyway, even if you didn't have any rings. Chadbells101 says, I always look but never approach. Just for my curiosity. That's all for this video. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe.